On today's show, Christian Woods shows out in Mavs preseason game number 1. What do we learn about the Mavericks' new big man? And the Hardy Party makes his debut in Mavs preseason win number 1. Let's talk about it and break it all down on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here. If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Letting it ride. Can I let it ride on a preseason game? I'm letting it ride on a preseason game.
Sure, why not?
Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Mavericks. So the best way to help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know who stood out to you the most in Mavs preseason game number 1. No Luka, but you still had Dinwiddie, you had Christian Wood, Jaden Hardy, Josh Green making an appearance, McKinley Wright popping out. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the streaming sir, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Yes, just got home late at night. Let's do this post-game pod. Thanks for all the Mavs fans who tuned in and watched the preseason game.
Yeah.
Stream that sucker at Mavs.com. From Studio 41, Bobby Caralla, Dana Larson from Valley Sports, and myself. And it was a lot of fun. Dana Larson, shout out to just a legend.
Yeah.
And she's so much fun, knows so much about the Mavs. And and obviously Kat, Chopper. Literally, you guys got to watch this preseason Mavs game because Chopper and this crew put this sucker together, and it was a lot of fun. So it's going to get better. There's some technical difficulties, but it was fun.
Absolutely. And we got some takeaways from this preseason game number 1. We got to see Christian Wood for the first time officially as a Maverick and not just at a scrimmage, basically. We got to see Jaden Hardy, the Hardy Party, stepping out.
Hot man, the hot player.
He was probably the hot man. And then other stuff stuck out. Dwight Powell getting the start over Christian Wood. Dinwiddie playing well. Dorian and Reggie Bullock out there. But let's start with Christian Wood. And I'm going to start with it. It's the duality of Christian Wood for me that stood out in that game. You saw he was struggling early on. It's preseason. The rust was just, it's sky high. How many turnovers? They had 18 turnovers at one point. They definitely finished with more. So many turnovers in this game. Just so many passes that just went right into the teeth of the defense where they had no business going. Mavericks finished with 23 turnovers. They averaged 12 last year. 12 a game. They were like last in the NBA in turnovers. And so there's a bunch of rusty play and a bunch of just stuff that looked like preseason. But Christian Wood in the third quarter really started to step up. You started to see him take over a little bit. You started to see what he's capable of offensively. We saw him rebound. But then the duality of it is his defense was just really stood out. Like really, as much as his offense stood out on the other end, we say, oh, this is a player the Mavericks could really use. His defense was not there. And that's honestly what I think. And I still believe this after this first game, the reason why he's not starting.
Yeah, he was slated as the starter going into it. We had all of our pregame graphics and everything.
How weird was that?
And then Dwight, gets announced as a starter. And some people probably asking like, why did they do the late switch? Why would you even do that? It makes sense from a basketball standpoint because if he's going to come off the bench in the regular season, then you keep that second unit kind of intact, or at least you're trying to. And this is where I think we need to give him a little bit of grace of. He's used to starting. He's used to, he's so talented. He's been used to starting in Houston these past few stops to where now he's coming off the bench. He doesn't love that, but this is a change up for him. And there is, however you want to tell yourself that it's not like, oh, you're just playing basketball. No, there is a shift of, if you're going to come off the bench, not starting that game, sitting on the bench to start. Now you got to get warm up and like all this stuff. So it's going to, and he looked it. It looked clunky at the beginning. He came in. I don't know exactly what time he came in the first quarter.
6 minutes.
But 6 minutes ago. So it's like that's halfway through the quarter he comes in. So that's a change up for him. And he looked rusty. he just wasn't there. But then the third quarter happens, and I think that's the story for him. Of he had 12 of his 16 points in the third quarter, hit both of his threes. He looked more comfortable, looked more confident. So I understand why they didn't start him even in preseason, because you got to get him used to it. But the third quarter kind of saved this night from at halftime. Let me say this: at halftime, I was like, "Oh man, Mavs fans are a little worried right now."
The pitchforks are coming out. And I was curious to see how they were going to run him in actions and sets. And if they started him, I was really interested to see how him and Dinwiddie. Luka obviously didn't play in this game. Tim Hardaway Jr. didn't play. Maxey didn't play. JaVale McGee didn't play. Davis Bertans. None of them made the trip to Tulsa. This game was in Tulsa, which is why it was like a weirdly non-televised but still on Mavs.com kind of thing. And like you said, if the Mavs.com crew doesn't step up and say, "Hey, we'll broadcast this game," then we probably don't get to watch this game.
That cameraman too was struggling.
Yeah, I would say that he probably nodded off several times during that game. But with Christian Wood, you didn't see him run a ton of pick and rolls with Dinwiddie. You didn't see him run pick and rolls with Jaden Hardy like we saw a couple times in Fan Jam. Like we just didn't see them run or pick and pops even, like those kind of actions. It was a lot of, all right, Christian Wood either post up. He had a real nice post up move. I was in the second quarter on Usman Jang. He wanted the end one really bad, which I thought was funny on that. But he ran a couple of good plays, had the couple spot up threes, like you said, but they weren't running the pick and rolls. That's what I want to see. I want to see him run pick and roll with Dinwiddie, with Luka, and I'll hold out my full, all right, I'm making a sweeping decision about Christian Wood until I see that. On the defense, though, he struggled. He struggled defensively, knowing where to be, and they used him as a 5. Like he comes in the 6-minute mark in the first quarter for Dwight Powell. They ran him at the 5. There was that whole thing in the Mavs real training camp on NBA.com where he wasn't getting run as a 5 in the bigs versus smalls defense drill very much. And he was like telling the coaches, "I want to play the 5. I want to play the 5." Okay, you want to play the 5, you got to defend like a 5 in our system. And he just wasn't doing that. And he just wasn't playing defense on a level that this Mavericks team wants. And that's where you see like really easily that this is why he's in the situation that he is with the Mavericks, where they're bringing him along slowly. They're not just throwing him out there to start and to calling him this is our next all-star, all that kind of stuff. They're not hyping him up the way that some fans had hoped that they would.
Yeah, I mean, JaVale's a better defender than him. Yeah. And, unfortunately, JaVale, twisted his ankle the other day. So, he's out right now. But he's a better defender than him. He's better interior defender. He's better on the perimeter, defending in space than Christian Wood is. So, what they ask for the 5-man is what, Dwight Powell did tonight. It's what JaVale's going to probably be a little bit better at, in that 5-man spot for, I say better than like Dwight. It's going to get interesting, though. It's like, he did play a little bit tonight with Dwight in this like kind of too big, lineup a few times.
Ran a 4-5 pick and roll where Christian Wood was the ball handler and Dwight was the screener. I was like, oh, let's go.
But he's probably going to play with Maxey. He's going to be Christian Wood, the backup 5. Maxey's going to be this backup 4. Maxey can spread the floor, play defense, and all of that. So I think there'll be a good big man pairing off the bench.
And what the Mavericks asked their bigs to do, what we saw work so well in the postseason run, was what Maxey does, right? Like you can rotate around, you can be quick on your feet, and you can play vertical at the rim. And that's what Dwight can do, and what Maxey does really well, which is why he's such a good defender for this team, is rotate to the right spots and be there, be on time. It's a lot about timing, and I didn't see that from Christian Wood just yet. It's going to take him a while. I'm not expecting him to be pitch perfect the first game, but that's going to take him a little while. What we haven't seen is a JaVale McGee type center. Like we haven't seen that type of rim rim protecting center since the Kristaps Porzingis trade, and he was starting to come on pretty well right before the trade happened. But
even like Tyson Chandler stuff, there's been some fans try to like tie that that similarity of like adding JaVale, this kind of older vet, to be this like rim protecting guy, and looking back to like, hey, Tyson Chandler 2011 days and all of that. JaVale's not Tyson Chandler, but
let's slow the brakes on that one. A lot.
I know, but I'm saying like the thought of that, of adding a vet to play the center spot and anchor the defense a little bit, like you at least see the thought of it.
I guess he's that style, and he'll play that for 17, 20 minutes a game or something like that.
Yeah.
But when the Mavericks are most optimal, when they're running 5 out, which I think they hope that Christian Wood can become eventually, they're asking that center to defend that way. And we just didn't see it from him. Coming up, let's get into the Hardy party because he came on strong in the fourth quarter, ended up leading the game in points. He was hitting from everywhere. Let's talk about what stood out for Jaden Hardy and then more notes later on. Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. Can you tell that I've been sick with food poisoning for like? Okay. I'm running low. BetOnline is the best place to check out the odds and lines inside and outside of sports. The Dallas Cowboys, all of a sudden, just like they're standing out. They're standing out all of a sudden. 3-1.
Cooper Rush, baby.
They're playing against Cooper Kupp and the Rams. Rams at home, Isaac. What's the spread?
Rams at home, it's going to be 2.
Rams -5.5. I don't think the Rams have played that well. So if you're
holy crap,
if you're thinking about that, go ahead and check out BetOnline. They may have undervalued the Cowboys here, so go check it out. Go put some money down. They also have all kinds of win total over-unders. We'll do that at some point this week where we go over the entire NBA with our win totals. And so go check it out. It's BetOnline. It's where the game starts. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Make sure to check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview starting October 10th. I'm on every single one of the 6-episode extravaganzas to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and Odyssey insiders, NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network, all combining into one ultimate NBA preview. I did 6 sets of roundtables with all of our hosts, and I enjoy those so much. I don't know if people enjoy listening to them, but I love doing them so much with all of our hosts and getting them together and seeing them go back and forth and all that. There was some dust ups, not to the level of maybe Draymond punching a teammate, but there was some dust ups in our roundtable. So check it out. It's October 10th. Search the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Isaac Harris. Mavericks win their first preseason game. A score 98-96, and it was starting to get a little dangerous. Like, oh, the Thunder picked up their lead in the beginning of the second half, and then they got it to 10, and then all of a sudden you're like, are the Mavericks really going to lose this game after they held the lead pretty much the whole first half? And who would step in but our guy Jaden Hardy?
Come on, Hardy, let's go party.
And I gotta throw it up again because you just love seeing Jaden Hardy anytime he does well. Oh, I put up the picture. I
thought you were about to play something. I was like, oh, no, you got something prepped.
I got something, but I didn't finish it before you got home. But for the audio audience, that was an incredible moment in Locked On Mavs podcast history.
Oh, that was awesome. I was like, oh, cool. I'm about to watch something. And then we just watch each other's faces. Jaden Hardy tonight, 16 points in the fourth quarter, hit 4 threes in the fourth quarter. And, there's not a ton that you go into preseason games and saying, hey, like, what are you trying to learn? Like, rotations are thrown off. People are setting out. And, I went through on yesterday's pod. These are things I'm looking for in the preseason. Josh Green is a hype there. Seeing something, how engaged, how locked in is Christian Wood. Some of these things that, like, isn't depending on rotations and all of this stuff. One of those is Jaden Hardy. And, like, how confident, how comfortable does he feel out there? Because we saw that first game of Summer League. He puts up 28 points. And in the rest of Summer League, he wasn't as confident. It looked kind of like out of place. It was clunky for him the rest of Summer League. So this is the first time we've seen him in action. And it's just so much fun. And he's so much This is what I want to see him do in the preseason. Like, get up shots.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Be confident in it. And him hitting 4 threes in the fourth, I was getting pretty hyped.
For him, it's especially about what's his role in the context of the lineup that he's out there with, right? Like when he's out there with some of the starters or at least the main rotation guys, he's catch and shoot. He's maybe a dribble here or there if he gets an outlet pass or something like that. But when it's just him and the rest of the training camp guys, it's him and it's McKinley Wright and it's Tyler Hall and Bingham and Gee, like, go for it, man. Like, it's your time. It's your time. It's the Hardy party. Like, go ahead and start to put up some shots. And he was, man. Anytime he got the ball, he's throwing up threes. And his catch and shoot shot looks really, really good. And I think that's one area where we've seen over the last couple of times we've seen him, Summer League, training camp stuff, now this first preseason game, where if that's real, and it seems like it is so far, and he was a good shooter everywhere he's played. If that's real, then that's something the Mavs can really use. Like that's something the Mavs can really use at a certain point. It gives them another player that if one of these guys isn't hot, the Tim Hardaways, the Reggies, the Dorians, like you can throw that guy in and just get him a couple buckets with some wide open threes.
And I think it feels like it's been a clear thing with him that he's going to play off the ball. Like,
yes,
we didn't see him. I don't remember one time tonight him bringing the ball to the floor and running any bit. And in a game in which Luka plays for a team that lacks the ball handlers, for him not to even like play that role at all.
Yeah.
When we've seen Josh Green, McKinley Wright, and these other guys do it, Frank, he didn't play. So it seems like they're pretty locked into him playing off the ball in that Jordan Poole type of role that we've talked about a million times. So I liked what I saw from him.
Is he going to play the Jordan Poole rule where like a veteran punches him in the like at a certain point during a practice?
I actually haven't got to read that story yet. I saw tweets during the broadcast and I was like, oh crap, what is going on?
The report is that Jordan Poole was acting all whatever because he's about to get a new extension and Draymond hasn't gotten his yet apparently. And like a bunch of teammates got upset about how Jordan Poole was acting and Draymond Green got in his face. And then Draymond Green, let me use the correct phrasing here, struck Jordan Poole. I don't know if it was a punch, it was a slap, it was a elbow, it was a forearm shiver. Like I don't know exactly what yeah, he could have struck him. It was a towel. It was a towel flip, like in the locker room. But yeah. So, but with Jaden Hardy, like you're right. They haven't played him on the ball very much at all throughout all the times we've seen him in every context that we've seen him since they drafted him. And so I think that's what we're gonna have to look for is how are they going to use him in that sense? And he's not going to be the third ball handler that rises up. I don't think he's still got a while to go with his ball handling, which has been my thing since they drafted him is get Shammgod to work with him and it'll do wonders for his career.
Well, just a while to go to even, I mean, it's not the, raining on the parade of Hardy, but I just think he's not going to be a primary guy. Like I'm not expecting him to be the seventh man off the bench. Like Tim's going to play that role. Like the role we saw Hardy play tonight, that's Tim Hardaway's role in the normal rotation. So I think he's going to be buried down the rotation a little bit. He's going to be the best victory cigar. Like it's going to be, I mean, the fourth quarters that they're up by 23 against the Kings, or well, I can't say the Kings because we always lose the Kings, but against some random team out there, Hardy's going to come in and play like, 5 or 6 minutes in the fourth and put up some big shots and have fun and be confident. The dude was flexing against this crowd in Tulsa. Like these people in Tulsa, they never get NBA basketball and he's over there flexing out. I'm like, I
loved it. I'm in it. I'm calling my shot right here. There's going to be a game this year where the Mavericks are down 20 and they're like, all right, it's garbage time. Let's throw out Hardy and Pinson and, all the end of the bench guys. And Hardy's going to bring them all the way back. And then there's going to be a moment where like, all right, do we bring our starters back in because it's a 5-point game with a minute left to go? Or do we just let Hardy continue to cook? And he's going to win them one of these games. So they're down 20 and they throw him out there for quote unquote garbage time. And he's like, I'm not having it because he's got something. I don't know if I want to call it that dog or if he's a hooper or all the colloquialisms that are used among so many different basketball players. But he loves those moments. Like, in Fan Jam, we saw it late in the game, him going back and forth with Luka. We saw it in this game. They're late in the game, and they could get a win. And he's like, let me just start chucking up shots. And
he could be not just the victory cigar. He could be the break glass guy. That how we had like JJ Barea before of like break glass in case of emergency. That all the offense is just not working. And it's like, just throw JJ out there and just have him run some pick and rolls. Just see if we can get something on the board. He could serve that role that Luka doesn't have it, or let's say Luka's out. Spencer doesn't have it.
Yeah,
there's foul trouble. They just can't get an offensive rhythm. They're getting down. They're down by like 12 in the mid third quarter. And they're like, dude, we just can't get anything going. You throw Hardy out there and say, dude, let's just see if you got a flamethrower tonight. Just go get some buckets.
The heat check guy. I'm all for it. Coming up. Yeah. What are some other thoughts? I got some thoughts about Dinwiddie, thoughts about the rest of the rotation and everything that we saw. Let's talk about what else we saw in this preseason game coming up. All right, Isaac, we're continuing to talk about the Mavericks' 98-96 win over the quote-unquote Thunder. I mean, they didn't play SGA. Chet didn't play, obviously. Dort didn't play. Did you know that Marquise Chris and Trey Burke were on the Thunder?
Technically, yes, they are.
They were in that trade, but they didn't play.
I love watching Giddey play. Such a fun player.
Giddey's fun. He was looking really good early on. But a couple of thoughts. Dinwiddie knows exactly what his role is in this offense, and his confidence has totally shined through, I thought, in that first quarter, where he's just, all right, it's me. I got the ball. I'm doing this. I'm making stuff happen. I'm kicking out to shooters. I'm finishing around the rim. I think he hit a 3. He's getting a couple steals. Like, he's just making it happen. He had turnover issues, but everybody had turnover issues in this game with rust. But that clip from Theo Pinson's podcast where Dinwiddie's talking about Dorian Finney-Smith coming up to him in practice one day after he played his first 2 games. He wasn't very aggressive. He wasn't trying to rattle anything. And he says, Dorian comes up to him and says, what are you doing? We couldn't guard you in Brooklyn. Now what are you doing out here? I'm not guarding LeBron for all this time for you to not go get a bucket. Like, he knows exactly what his role is, and I'm excited to see that he knows exactly what his identity in the offense is.
I'll hook it up to my veins. I mean, I'm all in on Spencer Dinwiddie this season, and I love what I saw tonight. I mean, he had one play tonight. I think he scored at the basket, and then he stole the inbounds play and had another big I don't know.
I think Josh Green stole that inbounds play, but Dinwiddie was right there and finished it. Got the layup.
Back-to-back things. I'm all about him stepping into the Brunson role, and I like it.
The other thing that stood out to me in that Theo Pinson, by the way, it's Run Your Race, is Theo Pinson's podcast. An incredible episode with Dinwiddie. They go through his entire basketball career. Where'd you start? Where'd you go to high school? How'd you decide to go to Colorado? It's all really interesting stuff. But one thing that stood out was he talked about his process going from level to level in basketball, where he's like, I'm in high school. It took me a little while to figure it out. And once I figured it out, I was in the races. Went to Colorado. First 10 games were really rough for him, really bad. Coaches sat him down and were like, hey, we brought you in to be our ringer, to be our main guy, to be our star. It's not working out. What's going on? And he said after that, he figured it out. It took him a while to figure it out. NBA, Detroit wasn't working for him. Gets to Brooklyn, takes him a little bit. He figures it out, and then he gets it. And I think he's just one of those guys that is he's way more internal about stuff and has to figure it out, accept what kind of his role is, and then go out and do it. And I think hopefully this year we'll see that a lot more, that he's, all right, I've processed it. I know exactly what my role is. I'll go out there and do it. And I'm interested to see how that works out for him this year too.
He's probably a 5 on the Enneagram, but he's super smart. He could have went to Harvard, and he didn't. Yeah. He didn't go to Harvard. He, chose to play basketball in the Pac-12, play for Colorado and stuff. Speaking of Colorado, though, let's transition to McKinley Wright.
Yeah.
For one of my biggest questions for the preseason is, especially in these games that Luka doesn't play, who's going to run the freaking offense when Dinwiddie's not on the floor? And McKinley Wright was the first guy that gets a shot at it. One, that tells me, I'm like, all right, if it's McKinley Wright getting backup point guard minutes over Frank and everybody else, a little worried. But then he actually plays really well. He has some tough finishes in the paint. He's 5'11". He's small. He obviously lacks the size, but the dude looks like a pro out there. He has 2 more games like that in the preseason. Wouldn't shock me if he gets the other 2-way spot. I thought he played really good basketball tonight.
He's built like a football player, right? He's smaller. Yeah. He's 6 foot 6'1", but he's built really thick. He is hounding everybody on defense. It was hard. You're going to laugh at this, but at Fan Jam, he was picking up Theo Pinson full court, and Theo Pinson had a hard time getting the ball over half court, dribbling against him. And I was a little worried for Theo. I was like, what is going on?
Tell me what else you learned from Fan Jam.
Well, we've only seen this Maverick squad play 3 instances now, so I'm taking what I can get. And for him, I've seen him even less than that. But yeah, I mean, he's playing defense. He's out there trying. He's making the most of his time, and he was the only training camp guy, quote unquote, to play in the first half, which I found really interesting. And of all the good that he did in this game, it made me way more concerned about the third ball handler, because I didn't see them trust Frank very much as the ball handler. Or we just talked about how Jaden Hardy is not. They don't think that he's a ball handler, a main guy, and so. I don't know. That problem may be a little bit bigger than they think. Tim will help that, I think, just a little bit. Obviously, Luka will help it a lot, but it is a thing because McKinley Wright got more ball handling opportunities than Frank did early in the game. That's
surprising. I mean, he did have 10 assists. He was a really good point guard in college basketball, and he's the all-time leader in assists at Colorado, which school has Chauncey Billups. And so anyway, I don't know if McKinley Wright is the answer to your backup point guard
He can't shoot the three, which is tough.
No.
Like I got to see him knock down some threes, and we haven't seen any like. But as a two-way guy, another break glass in case of emergency as a third point guard, like I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to him being the other two-way guy. Josh Green.
Yeah,
I don't think he did anything tonight for people to jump off the train. I thought he had a solid night. He hit a three in the game. That three that was a nice kick out to him in the corner. He looked confident in taking it. And I liked what I saw. And
on that point, he only passed up 1 3 that I thought, okay, he should have taken that one. I didn't see many
one in the corner with Giddey.
Yes. Giddey was like a little close to him, and I don't know what he was. I don't know. His release is a little bit slow, and so I don't know exactly. It's hard to tell the space, especially with the feed that we got. But yeah, I'm talking about the feed from Tulsa. It was like Ripley, and there's like weird like glitch stuff in the middle of it. I don't know. I was having a hard time, and the camera angle sometimes. But yeah, I thought he did great. He had 2 steals, that inbounds one that you talked about. He had 4 assists, which is what you want from him. Only 1 rebound. You expect at least 1 Josh Green rebound every game, offensive rebound. We didn't get it in this one, but yeah, he's looking solid, and I think his confidence and his demeanor is different this year than we've seen in the past. Definitely than his rookie year, but different than last year too.
And the arm sleeve is huge for Josh Green. Arm sleeve Josh Green is a new thing. So
it's different. He's built different now.
It's built different. I don't have really anything else from this game.
That's all you got?
Besides Tulsa, Oklahoma, just being the.
All right. Let's Tulsa's apparently everyone should go visit Tulsa, a tourism capital of the United States. I'm worried about Tyler Dorsey.
I mean, I think it's too early to say you're worried about anybody. I mean, he missed all 5 of his threes.
It was the threes that he took, though. To me, it was like the threes that he took. He's forcing shots up there. It seems to me like he's ready to come back and prove himself, which he should want to, because he left a deal in Greece, decided to come back to the U.S. and was like, all right, I gotta prove something. He took less money to be on a 2-way than he could have made in Greece, playing in that league again. And Nico Harrison mentioned him as a potential third ball handler, and
no,
I don't see that at any point with him from what we just saw tonight and what I've seen from him in the past. So yeah, that one I'm worried about. It's a 2-way, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you're somebody that expected him to he's gonna pop and hit a ton of threes and maybe be the ball handler like Nico Harrison said, then I'm not there.
No. I'm not worried, but I don't have high expectations for any 2-way guys. I thought Dwight Powell looked okay tonight too. I mean, he obviously played 18 minutes, hit all 7 of his free throws. He was typical Dwight Powell, running the pick and roll, hustling, got hit in the face one time, thought of you.
He got hit twice in the face. Our friend Jimmy at All Things Mavs was keeping track of that. We got to remember, let's not have such short-term memory that we forget that Dwight Powell was really good all last year. He's a good regular season center. He just can't play in three straight playoff rounds last season. And so, but remember, he's still a pretty good. He knows where to be. If everything I talked about,
I think I would say pretty good. I wouldn't say really, really good, but
he's solid. That to me is
he's solid.
That to me, he's solid. He's
especially for what they ask of that 5 role. Put him in a different systems where they don't have a really good, pick and roll guy. They don't have a Luka, stuff like that. Then I would have some big hesitations. But the role that they ask for the 5-man, it fits perfect, especially in a backup role. Fits great here in Dallas.
Yeah, and so let's not forget that he's still solid at that, and that he's gonna play minutes this year.
And if this JaVale sprained ankle happened a month from now, Dwight can fill in for 18 minutes like he did like that. This is the amount that JaVale's probably going to play in the game. You're going to see JaVale's going to play 18 to 20 minutes a game, just like Dwight did tonight. And it's Dwight can do that. If JaVale twists an ankle and is out for a week, Dwight can spot start like that for a while.
For sure. So there you go. We'll be back tomorrow with more thoughts about this game. And then the Mavericks play again on Friday. Mavericks, my dog just leapt up into the door. They play on Friday, home game against the Magic. So that one should be fun. Hopefully we'll get to see your boy, Paolo Banchero, Eggs and Banchero.
Yes.
And we'll be able to see him and all that. So guys, stick with us. We'll have a post game after that one as well. And make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd holding you down. He's the best one over there, the Aussie. An incredible podcast host who I want to be someday. Go listen to Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.